What's up guys, Andre here, and today I'd like to take a look at Vue 3's upcoming Composition API. At the time of this recording, Vue 3 is currently in beta and is scheduled to be released sometime within the next few months. The Composition API is its biggest new feature, so let's go ahead and take a look at how to use it. So you can actually make use of it now in a Vue 2 app by installing a package, which you can find here on GitHub. So that's what we'll be doing. We'll refactor this to-do app, which I have an entire series on, using the Composition API. So yeah, be sure to check out this video first where we create this app. If you haven't seen it, that's fine. It's pretty straightforward if you're already familiar with Vue. So be sure to also check out the Vue Composition API RFC here, as it goes into detail about everything about the Composition API. So note that this new API is completely optional and you can continue to use Vue the way you currently use it if you prefer it that way. So the biggest advantage of the Composition API is code organization. So if you look at this diagram here, you'll see the current options API on the left and the Composition API on the right, and you can see a bunch of colors here. So the colors represent related code blocks in a component. So with the options API, you can see that it's fragmented across different sections because you're limited to the different options in the component, for example, data, computer properties, methods, and so on and so forth. But with the Composition API, you can organize the code however you like. You can see in this section, the colors are grouped together. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So like I said, I have this Vue to-do app, which I literally just copied and pasted from my video. So let's go ahead and install this package here, and let's make use of it. So let's npm install it. So let me just stop this and install it. And we also have to import it and then use it. So let me just grab this. Let's go into main.js and let's import it and use it. Okay, looks good. Let me save that and let's rerun this npm run serve. And let's go back into our code, and I am going to duplicate this just so you can compare the two once we're done refactoring to the Composition API. So let's say to-do list original, and now we can start refactoring this. Okay, so we have to define a new setup method where we can organize our code here, and whatever goes in here is going to replace all of our options here. So data, computer properties, lifecycle hooks will all go in here and we'll replace this. And we can organize it however we like. So the first thing I want to do is replace the state here. So we have this object of state here, and this is all reactive because it's defined within the data property here. But in the setup method, we have to tell Vue what we want to be reactive. So in this case, we want everything to be reactive. So let's just grab this entire object here and let's define a new piece of state. Let's call it state. You can call it whatever you like. And we have to use this new reactive method, and then we can just paste the state in. So that lets Vue know that we want these to be reactive and we want this to be re-rendered whenever it changes. And we have to import this. So let's go ahead and import reactive from Vue Composition API. Okay. And you can see my linter complaining here. It's because it's not being used. So always remember, within the setup method, we have to return what we want to be available in the template. So in this case, we want all of our state to be available. So let's go ahead and return that. So return the state. And same goes for anything else we add in the setup method. So state, and now we have to change our template here. So I'm just going to comment some stuff out for now, and we'll re-add it later on. So this stuff is just to do with filtering and has to do with computer properties and stuff. So we'll add that later on. Okay. And now we just have to change this to state.newToDo. And we have to add a method as well. And this is a computer property. Let's just do state.todos for now. And I think that should do it. Let's go ahead and add this method. So let me just comment out this data since we no longer need it. Okay, and let's grab that add to do method. So down here, and I'm going to grab this, and we can just stick it in our setup method. We don't have to put it there. We can put it in an external file if we want, but for now we'll just put it in our setup method. And like I said, you can organize this however you like. You're not limited to the options. So I'm going to put it right underneath our state here. And let's remove the comma here, and let's say function. You can also make this an arrow function if you want, but I'll stick to just the function keyword. And now we don't have a reference to this. We have a reference to state. So let's replace all of this to state. Okay, and again, my linter is complaining. We just have to make sure to use it and expose it to the template. So let's say add to do. Okay, and let's see if I did that correctly. Did I comment that out? Add to do. Okay, let's comment this out since we no longer need it, and make sure we're using the Vue Composition API. Okay, so let's see if this is working. Okay, looks like it is. And if we add a new one, it does work. Cool. So note that there's another way to make state reactive. Right now I'm using the reactive property, but you can also make use of refs, which I'll show you later on. But if you look at the documentation, you'll see a section here for ref versus reactive. And you can see the two different ways you can define reactive state. And you can see style 1 is refs, or similar to refs, where you just define each piece of state separately. And style 2 is where you encapsulate it in an object using reactive, which is what we're doing. So yeah, I'll show you refs in a second. Okay, so let's continue to add the other methods here. So right now we're in our methods key. So all of these three have to do with editing. So let's grab all these. Let's put it into our setup method. So up here. And let's paste that in. Let's get rid of the commas. Let's add the function keyword. And let's get rid of the references to this. Should be state. Okay. And now we want to expose this to the template. So edit, done, and cancel edit. Edit, done, and cancel. Okay. And did I comment those out down here? I did not. So let's comment all of these out. And let's see if we can edit and cancel to-dos. So if you double click, you should be able to edit. Enter should commit it, but escape should not. So if I press escape, that shouldn't commit it. Awesome, it works. So let's continue adding the delete to do. Let's just add all of these. So clear completed, and check all to-dos, and remove to do. Again, let's grab this, put it in our setup method up here. Let's remove the commas. Let's add the function keyword. And let's remove the reference to this. And that should be state. Cool. Okay, so deleting and checking all and clear and completed should all work now. Okay, so that's within what I commented out, so we'll test that later on. Let's just test delete for now. And that doesn't work. Oh, we didn't expose it. Remove to do, check all to dos, clear completed. Remove to do, check all to dos, clear completed. Let's try deleting. And still doesn't work. Oh, sorry, I forgot to remove them in methods. So let's go ahead and remove them in methods. Yeah, so I can actually just remove everything here now, since I replaced everything. So let's get rid of methods. Cool. Let's get rid of data as well. Okay, does this work? Okay, so deleting now works. Cool. So I still have a bunch of computer properties here, which we have to refactor as well. So to use computer properties, we just have to import that up here, like we're importing reactive, computed. And again, we can put it wherever we want in here. We can group related code together. So I'm just going to put it underneath here. And we can make use of computer properties here. So let's make one called remaining. So this one right here. Let me just grab this. And we're going to say const remaining equals computed. And this will take a callback. And I'm just going to paste in what I copied there. And this is implicit, so we can get rid of that. This is state, and that should do it. Again, we have to expose everything we want. So this gets exposed, remaining. Cool. So let's get rid of this. Let's add any remaining. Same thing. So let's say any remaining. And let's paste this in. Actually, no, it's just remaining. Okay, let's make sure to expose that as well. Cool. And let's grab to-dos filtered. So this determines the filter, so if it's completed or not. So let me just grab this. Say const to-dos filtered is a computer property, and let's make this multi-line. And let me just grab that actually. So it's just this. And this is now going to be state. Okay. Okay. And again, let's expose that to do's filtered. And that should be gone now. Okay, is there anything else? Yeah, there's one more. Show clear completed button. So let me just grab this. And let's put this here. Show clear completed button. And let's grab this. Say this, and this is state. Okay, so that should do it. Let's expose this. And let's put this back in our filter here, or whatever I commented out. Let's add this first. See if this works. So these two items, so check all works, and this remaining count works as well. Cool. And let's add this back. Okay, and this is now state.filter, I believe. Yeah. So let me just add this state. Okay, and let's see if this filter works. So yeah, we also have to change what we're looping over. So right now it's just the to-dos, and this should be filtered to-dos. Is that what I named it? Filtered to-dos. No, it's not. What did I name it? To-dos filtered. To-dos filtered. Okay. Okay, let's see if this is working now. I have an error. Oh, sorry, forgot to remove this. So we can get rid of everything in computed now, since we moved it to our setup method. Okay, and let's give this a try. And everything seems to be working. Let's test this out. So this button should show up. Awesome. It's clear completed. Okay, it doesn't seem to work. Okay, let's fix that later. Let's check if the filter works. Okay, the filter does work. Okay, cool. Why isn't clear completed working? Oh, I forgot to change this. Sorry, state. Okay, let's try it again. So this should work. Awesome. Okay, so our app is working again. Okay, so now I hope you can see how flexible your code can be. We are no longer limited to the options API and defining all of our code within options. Everything is within the setup method, and we can structure this however we want. We can even extract certain code to make it more reusable. So I'll show you that right now along with refs. So let's add a feature here that just hides and toggles certain parts of our app. So for example, if I didn't want this to show, the filters, let's make a toggle for that. So let's do that using a ref and some state here. So I'm going to put a button right above the text box here. So let's say button toggle filters. And let's say toggle filter. Let's make a method called toggle filter. Okay, so let's go into our setup method. And let's put it underneath here. Let's put it underneath here. Again, you can put this wherever you want. So let's put all the toggling logic in here. So we need a piece of state for that. So let's say is filter visible. And by default, let's say it's true. And we're going to need a function here that toggles it. So function toggle filter visible. And let's just flip the bit. So is filter visible, is not, is filter visible. And VS Code is complaining here because I defined it as a const. But we also want to make sure this is reactive. And we can make it reactive using the same technique we used earlier and wrap it around a reactive method. But then it's only one value, so we don't really need that. So in this case, we can make it a ref. So I'm going to wrap it in a ref method. And we're going to import ref up here where we imported reactive. So let's put ref in here too. Cool. And let's change this, because when you're making use of refs, then you're not referring to the value directly. You have to refer to a dot value. And now it's only complaining because we have to expose it. And is that what I named it? Toggle filter visible up here. Toggle filter, let's say visible. Okay. So now if I did this correctly, this should hide and show. Oh, I have to put the vshow or vif around this section here. I'll just put a vif here. So vif is filter visible. So when you're using the ref within the template, then you don't have to put dot value. You only have to put dot value within the script. Okay, so let's see if this works. I think it did. Oh, sorry, I forgot to expose this as well. So let's put that here. Okay. And now this should be toggleable, if that's a word. Okay, cool. And this stuff should still work. Cool. So now let me show you how to extract this to a separate file and make use of it in this component. So again, you can do this currently using mixins, which is fine. I make heavy use of mixins, but mixins do have some issues. One being there can be some naming collisions, and it's not entirely explicit when you're importing it to a component and making use of it. So let's go ahead and extract this toggle functionality into its own component. Sorry, into its own function and import it here. So I'm going to make a new folder here called functions. You can name it whatever you want. And I'm going to make a new file here called useToggle.js, just a JS file, not a .vue file. And I'm going to export a function here called useToggle. And all the functionality that we just defined in our component here, we'll put into this method. So these two things. But let's make it more general here. Let's just say is visible. And let's just say toggle visible. And now this is just is visible. And let's make sure to import ref. So I'm going to grab that from up here. We only need ref though, so let's just get rid of these. Okay. Okay, so now in our component, we can easily import it instead of using it here. So I'm going to go down to where we defined all of it. And instead of defining it here, we can just, actually we have to import it first. So let's go ahead and import it up here. So import use toggle from functions use toggle. Okay. And now down here, we can make use of it and just destructure it from that external file. So over here, let's grab is visible, and we can rename it to the context of this component. So is filter visible, and let's grab the method as well. So toggle visible, and we're going to rename it to toggle filter visible for the context of this component. And we're just grabbing that from use toggle. And now we've extracted this logic into its own file, and we can reuse it across different components. So similar to mixins, but more explicit and easier to see what we're doing. Sorry, as you can see, this is probably the most common thing that's going to happen when you start using this composition API. You're going to keep forgetting to return what you want exposed. So in this case, is visible and toggle visible. Okay. Cool. And now this should still work. Cool. But like I said, we have now extracted that logic into its own file, and we can use it in different components if we need to. So for example, if we have another section here, let me just add another section here. So after this one, let's say extra container, other stuff here. Okay, say we want to toggle this as well. We can make use of that component that we just made. If, let's say, is other visible. Okay, let's make a button to toggle it, similar to this. Let's say toggle other visible. Let's say toggle other. And now we can just do the same thing here and make use of that external file. So is other visible. Oh, sorry, this one is the one that's being renamed. And this is toggle other visible. Okay. And we just have to expose it is other visible, toggle other visible, and that should work too, hopefully. There we go. Cool. Okay, let's quickly take a look at props and lifecycle hooks, and then we'll call it a day. So props stay exactly the same, but let me show you how to access them. So let me just define a prop here. So I'm just going to put it right here. So you can use the array syntax or you can use the object syntax. Same thing as before. Let's say we want a prop named title, type string, required true. Okay. And let's go to our app view and pass that in since it's a required prop. And as you can see, I'm already passing it in because I pasted in some code here. Cool. And to access that prop from within the setup method, if you remember, we no longer have access to the this context, but it is available within a props parameter. So if you just pass in props here, we now have access to all these props. So I'm also going to show you lifecycle hooks. So all of the lifecycle hooks still exist. We just have to import them from here. For example, the mounted hook, we can do on mounted. And then from within here, just do on mounted and then call a callback. And then that's the same thing as before. So let's just console log the props.title. And that should work. So if you open DevTools, there's the title right there. Cool. So there you have it, guys. We refactored our code to make use of this new composition API. I hope you can see the benefits of it compared to the options API. Again, it's completely optional, so you don't have to use it if you don't want to. And there are several instances where the options API is still going to be much easier, but it's good to know about the composition API in case you need it or in case you're reading other people's code that make use of it. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Okay, thanks. Bye.